Lexington police are searching for carjackers who stole cars from 2 women.
We'll tell you what's next for customers of Radio Shack now that the company has declared bankruptcy.
Still looking for those cloudy skies, drizzle out and about, and even a couple of showers down toward the south and southeast. We'll move that out. Cold air filters on in, and a big blast toward late week. I'll show you that coming up.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at Noon.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Barbara Bailey.
I'm Bill Bryant. Here's what's happening at noon. Lexington police are trying to figure out if 2 violent overnight carjackings are connected after 2 women were robbed of their vehicles at gunpoint.
Now, the first happened on East Loudon just after 3 this morning. Then across town about 15 minutes later, another car was stolen from the Farrington Apartments on Laredo Drive. WKYT's Mark Barber has reaction now from concerned neighbors. Mark, it's our top story at noon.
The woman whose car was stolen from the Farrington Apartments on Laredo Drive says she has 7 children. So when the carjackers put a gun to her head, all she could think about was staying alive so her kids would still have a mother. The woman is still very shaken. She says when she pulled into the parking lot around 3:30 this morning, 3 men armed with guns surrounded her car. She tells us they looked in the car for her purse, forced her to empty her pockets, and then grabbed her car keys. About half an hour later, police say they found her stolen car abandoned on the other end of the apartment complex. Investigators say it's rare to have 2 cases of grand theft auto in a day, but they say another car was stolen on East Loudon. In that case, police say when a woman stepped out of her home around 3:15 this morning, she was approached by 2 juveniles with guns. The carjackers told her to empty her pockets before they took the keys to her black Ford Ranger.
I'm hoping that they can find them as quick as possible because it's going to be very, very dangerous for the neighborhood and the people and the families of this neighborhood.
Police say even though the 2 cars were stolen just 15 minutes apart and the description of the carjackers is very similar, it's still too early to say if the 2 cases are connected. In Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Now, police tell us they still haven't found the car that was stolen on East Loudon.
We're also working to learn more about the circumstances behind a deadly crash on Interstate 75 in Lexington that happened last night near the Madison County line. The Fayette County coroner says a car ran off the road and a woman was ejected and then run over by several vehicles. As WKYT's Hillary Thornton reports, police are hoping a survivor will help them figure out what led up to the crash.
That survivor was rushed here to UK Hospital, and Interstate 75 is now back open after being closed for several hours following that fatal crash. The single vehicle crash happened just before 9 o'clock Sunday night near the Madison and Fayette County line at mile marker 99. Officials say there were 2 people in the car when it left the roadway for some reason. The Fayette County coroner says 1 person was ejected from that car into traffic and was then hit several times by other cars. The coroner says this is a tough situation for everyone involved.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of feelings and emotions from the individuals that hit the woman. I mean, obviously they could not have done anything different than what was happening because you know, this person was ejected into the roadway, so there was no way that they could avoid this.
Investigators say they do plan on speaking with that survivor to see if they might be able to provide some information as to what led to this crash and why that car left the roadway. Now, we have been in contact with the victim's family, and her name is not being released at this time. In Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Hillary, thank you very much. The coroner's office says they plan to release the name of the victim later today. Our WKYT investigation into rural hospitals in critical condition will continue tonight. According to a state association, at least 65% of rural hospitals in Kentucky have negative operating budgets. Employees at the now closed Nicholas County Hospital were not paid for their last week of work. The hospital closed last spring and filed for bankruptcy. Employees say they were given a week's notice that the hospital would close and given the choice to leave or work the rest of the week.
They said, we don't know when we can pay you for your last week's work, but if you leave, you might not get to draw your unemployment. So what kind of choice was that? But they knew we wouldn't walk off from our patients anyway.
Tonight on WKYT News at 6, find out if there is a chance they will ever see that last paycheck.
Well, the warmer air that we enjoyed this weekend has pushed out of the bluegrass as the colder temperatures filter back in this afternoon. And it's only going to get more frigid as we head through the week. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live now in our First Alert Weather Center with an early look at the forecast. Micah?
Well, it's not the best looking day. I mean, we have the clouds laying around, drizzle outside. It's kind of ugly. Let's just put it that way. And First Alert Defender Live Radar still holding on to that drizzle, a couple of sprinkles. No real rain activity. None of this is really going to add up there in the bucket, but still, you can expect just an ugly afternoon, too, because this front is still trying to make its way through. Look, the better activity still down toward the southeast, and watch what the temperatures are. Yeah, 53 in Jackson, you're at 39 in Richmond. You go from Richmond to London, that's not a long distance of a drive, and you're sitting there 39 to 52 degrees. This is a big time cold front. It's funneling in this colder air, and you're going to be feeling that down toward the southeast too in the rest of the afternoon. So we'll call it right around 36 degrees for all. Going off into the evening, still unpleasant. I mean, you can see what it looks like. It's not very pretty. Let's just put it that way. Focus on the forecast, huge changes in the forecast. And I don't usually say, hey, we have huge changes, but we really do as we get toward late week. And I'll explain that, where we go with these temperatures, because I promise you it's going down. But how far down? I'll show you that coming up.
Micah, thank you. Now, the cold air we're getting is nothing compared to the Northeast, which is bracing for another winter storm. The snow is just getting started, but it's expected to intensify as we go throughout the day. Massachusetts expected to get as much as 2 feet of snow in some parts of the state. Crews there say they've been preparing for days, with people still digging out from the 2 previous storms. New York, Maine, Connecticut, Vermont, and New Hampshire could also see heavy snow this week. Forecasters say it could be a couple of days before the storm system leaves that region.
Well, Sprint wants to lure in some new customers by setting up mini businesses in some former Radio Shack stores. Radio Shack has filed for bankruptcy protection last week. It plans to sell off hundreds of stores to the investment firm Standard General. Sprint has a deal with Standard General to open mini shops in those stores. WKYT's Rebecca Smith tells us which Lexington Radio Shacks are closing.
As you can see from the signs on the door here at the Radio Shack in Hamburg, they are shutting their doors for good. It's among almost 30 stores in the entire state of Kentucky shutting down.
It's the end of an era for Radio Shack. The company filed bankruptcy and announced the closure of many stores, included in Lexington, the Hamburg and Fayette Mall stores, as well as the Radio Shack located in South Farm Marketplace off Nicholasville Road. Some locations will become aligned with Sprint. If you happen to have a gift card to Radio Shack, we asked the Better Business Bureau what you need to do.
Radio Shack's customer service line does say that you can use those cards and they would be honored until March 6th at their stores. So go shopping as quickly as you can. If you can't get out, it also says they'll take them online.
If you would like to see a list of store locations in Kentucky, you can log on to our website, WKYT.com, for that information. Reporting in Lexington, Rebecca Smith, WKYT.
Rebecca, thank you. Stores in surrounding areas, including Nicholasville, Winchester, and Danville, are also closing. Some of the Radio Shacks will be repurposed as Sprint stores. Well, after a 123-day constant streak of declines, prices at the pump are on the rise this afternoon. The national average for a gallon of regular is now $2.18, and that's up 2 cents from this time last month, and down $1.10 from this time last year. Here in Kentucky, the average is sitting right now at $2.23 a gallon. The lowest price we found, $1.75 a gallon in Williamsburg, while the highest is around $3 in Somerset. Drivers in Lexington paying anywhere from $2.11 up to about $2.28 a gallon. Well, if you're feeling lucky today, you may want to consider buying a lottery ticket this week because the Powerball jackpot is soaring.
It's now sitting at $450 million for Wednesday night's drawing. No one matched all 5 numbers in Saturday's $380 million jackpot. Powerball's last major jackpot was last February when it climbed to $425 million. The tickets are $2 each.
All right.
The price of dreams.
Let's get this one in Kentucky this time, right?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
A big
Very
meeting
sweet.
at the White House today between President Obama and German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
We'll tell you about the major topics on their agenda next on Kentucky's #1 Midday News.
Also ahead, the 57th Annual Grammy Awards rocked the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and we'll take a look at some of the night's big winners. Coming up on WKYT News at noon.